Hello again, everyone. So we have our second presentation, very interesting. Today with Joni Lappalainen, CEO of Dreamloop Games, and with very interesting topic, by the way, I would say Danganronpa. Something for some reason I was thinking we got lost in 2010s, but it's going to be very interesting to listen how did game influence on your game, the game you already made. I actually already made some research. You already got a demo on Steam. Sorry for this spoiler. Maybe you wanted to tell us about that. It's pretty interesting, and I would say it depends on your presentation. I would wish list or not your game. So you got some kind of extra interested. Thank you very much. So I think you could start.
All right. Hi, welcome in, everyone. So, like I said, I'm Joni Lappalainen. I'm the CEO of Dreamloop here. Today, I'll be talking to you guys about Inescapable and how from the binary to branching is the title. And what we're going to go through is how Danganronpa's linear storytelling inspired a possibility-filled VN, which is our game Inescapable. So we're gonna dive pretty much into that, but I always, as any good presentator, I will start off by letting you guys know who I am. So like I said, I'm the CEO of Dreamloop Games. At Dreamloop, I've been working on over 30 projects as a producer, mostly in the PC and console space, but also some VR and mobile game projects as well along the side. Beside my day job at Dreamloop, I'm also the vice president of the Finnish Game Developers Association. So basically, kind of like the beneficiary association in Finland that is trying to improve the ecosystem here in Finland, and we are also part of the European Games Developer Federation. And you might have, for example, seen our statement on Unity's most recent activities a couple of weeks ago. So on top of that, the list continues. I'm the vice president of Tampere Game Hub, which is the kind of like a local to Tampere city's kind of like a tool association to support the ecosystem development in the region, as well as I'm the chairperson of the board for the Platform 6, which is the Tampere city's mayor's strategic project to enhance the startup ecosystem in the region by giving them a startup house and services. And I'm also kind of the co-founder, one of the owners of this project, the Tampere Startup Hub, as well as I'm one of the co-founders of the Finnish Game Incubator, which is the longest and probably one of the only running, still continuing incubator programs in Finland for early stage studios and teams. And the list continues with Tampere, as the Tampere coordinator for the IGDA Finland, which is then of course part of the IGDA Global. And I'm also an IGDA mentor. Most recently, I was mentoring at the Gamescom or DevCom before Gamescom in Köln last month. And beside all of these kind of like ecosystem parts, I'd still proudly say that I'm Twitch's #1 horse girl streamer. So if anyone knows of the game called Uma Musume, it's mostly out in Japan. On the Western side of things, on the Western side, I'm very active on that game. But for this presentation, I'll be talking to you guys as the creative director for Inescapable, No Rules, No Rescue. So I'm gonna run the trailer here. I took this sound out because we're not gonna watch the entirety of the trailer, but I'll let it run as I speak a little bit about the game. So the game is a collaboration between Dreamloop and Axis Games. So Axis is the publisher. You might know Axis for example, publishing originally the Zero Escape series in the West, as well as many other Japanese and non-Japanese games, mostly in the visual novel space. We very much went with this combination of like Japanese and Western visuals, and it was very clear from the get-go that we're gonna make the most anime-looking game in that ever came out of Finland. And we have seen that, for example, with people asking if there will be like English voice acting and stuff like that very early on. But this is, of course, English first visual novel. You kind of got idea from the visuals there, so we can move forward to actually talk a little bit what is Inescapable. So, like I mentioned, visual novel, but the hybrid, meaning that you do have gameplay on top of it. It's not all about just dialogues. You do have mini games, you do have puzzles, you do have what's the word I'm looking for here? You have kind of like a moving around on the island. There's plenty of things on top of the visual novel part, but still, mostly this is visual novel that is gonna be telling you a story. Theme is ontological mystery, meaning that you're strapped on an island. There's no way of out, or at least you're not able to find one immediately. And the other part of the theme is a social thriller. You're being put on a reality TV show, a little bit similar if you would think that Big Brother TV show would be allowed to kidnap their participants and force them to take part. And what that kind of creates when it's also told that there are no rules or regulations. You can do whatever you want, and how that affects on the people on the island. And that kind of creates a social thriller about it. It can go into very much of a death game scenario, but we'll get a little bit into that. It might not always be the case. Because of our background at Dreamloop in terms of consoles, Inescapable will be coming directly, and we did all these platform adaptations ourselves. So it comes to PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S and X, as well as Nintendo Switch. Now, this is what is Inescapable in a nutshell for consumer, but this is a developer conference. So from the point of view of a developer, we need to change one thing here, and that is the theme. Surely, yeah, theme and genre is a little bit two different things, but here, when we start to talk about what the game and the story is all about, we need to change the theme into what we can work with. And that theme is what you do affects everyone around you. And this was the theme that we built Inescapable, the story experience on top of. But I'll get a little bit back to that a little bit later, because you guys saw Danganronpa there. We kind of have to go back in order to explain to you why Danganronpa is included here. And for those who don't know what Danganronpa is, Danganronpa was a game series from the same developer and publisher that did the Zero Escape series, for example, and most recently the first Raincoat game. And Danganronpa is a trilogy, which means that there is 3 main games, 1 in-between game, 1 in-between anime, bunch of in-between manga, and 1 like spin-off where you date people on a beach. So that's a trilogy of Danganronpa. And what Danganronpa is, it is a death game where you take 16 Japanese high school students and put them on an isolated location and tell them that they need to kill each other in order to escape. And it's not battle royale type of if only one survives. It's a little bit more complicated than that. And this lovely little bipolar bear here is called Monokuma, who is kind of like the face of the said series. Now, how does Danganronpa fit in all of this? Well, it all started with a friend of mine starting a stream on Twitch of the first Danganronpa. He was not familiar with the game, so during his first stream, he did ask, can I affect on who gets killed? Now, not as much of a spoiler, but as an expectation management, no, you cannot. With Danganronpa, your story is always linear. Your part as a player is to answer questions correctly for the linear story to move forward. But after that, when I answered that to him, I started thinking that even after the stream was over, I was thinking, yeah, is there actually a game? Now, if I cannot think of a game like that, is there a possibility to make a game like that? And so my brain went into this. Is it possible to make a double-digit long story that branches like that, like a Danganronpa, where people get killed and then you find out the culprit and you move on? Double digits also very fancy way here, saying like multiple tens of hours. Is it possible to make a game that has story content for multiple tens of hours, where you can affect how the story goes forward in terms of who gets killed, who does what? And I started to do some testing of ideas with this. My first approach looks something like this. You have a decision that you make during the gameplay that will lead either one of these two characters dying, or someone kills one of these two characters. After that, you'll figure things out, the story moves forward, and if we go look, for example, the upper route, then you make another decision, which leads again to a death of one of the two characters. At this point, we're already talking about 4 different cases. We move forward, we talk about 8 different cases. We move forward, we talk about 16 different cases. And the problem here that I very quickly ran into is that's a lot of content that either A, is repetitive to experience, or then B, you need to make 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 stories altogether. And I'm not sure if that's exactly something that you can create that many plots in one game with a good margin of success. And that kind of led me to think that this branching kind of solution will not work, that there gotta be something else. Well, I'm gonna fast forward many iterations in between, because I didn't document them all that well. But the final iteration led to something like this. With this, you can disregard the intro part, which is basically the demo that was mentioned earlier. That's in the that is in Steam since June, I think. The actual game comes out in 24 days, so 19th of next month. But the intro part is basically the part of the demo where you get to kind of like get the introduction into the game. And from there on out, or maybe already during the demo time, the player engagement period kicks in. And this is where the story keeps on moving forward. But constantly as the story moves forward, we are monitoring. And when I say we, I mean the game. The game is not telling your answers to anyone else. The game is monitoring what you do. And everything that you do is considered a decision. And as you make decisions, you start to build up a profile for yourself. And based on your profile, the game will eventually adjust the whole experience to one of the 4 stories that the game expect is the best fit for you. What we here have coded them under the names of greed, suspicion, lust, and trust are basically 4 different stories that are 4 main motivations that we think that the players playing the game will play it for. And also, as you can see at the bottom, the reason for actions kind of like a shifts at the point where we go on one of these 4 stories. Before that, it was to evaluate the player's motivation, to build up that profile for the game to understand you as a player, and after that, making the decision to give you change the story fitting for you. And after that, it's the reason for actions is very much similar to Danganronpa in a sense that at that point we are already cleared that you have made your decision in a sense. Now we are gonna tell you how that's how does that react with the world, the decisions that you made. Now I said that this one was a final approach, but I left it here because you could see that there's a bad ending here, which is during the player engagement period. This was what was kind of the idea that if you try to play the system, that you try to play it so that you're not ending up on any of these paths, you would get a bad ending, that the show got canceled, everyone got to get home. Well, we took that out. We decided that there should not be ways for you to fight against the machine, so to speak. If you're playing the game, you're playing the game, and everything that we allow you to do is going to build up to your portfolio. So we took away the opportunity to not fill in your portfolio, your profile. So we took away the opportunity to not fight your profile, but instead everything that you do is building up points in different parts of your profile, which of course we don't exert from the game. The game has no functions to tell us anything about the player's decisions. It's only between the player and the game. And then basically using that profile, then the game will take you on one of these paths. Now you would think that, okay, that means that I'll play this game and then the last 10% I can see the effects of my decisions. So how this is different from having different endings. Now the thing is, the split is 30-70. So 30% of your playthrough, you're making decisions, and 70% is then to see the effect of your decision making. So if you're making decisions, let's call it suspicion. Your profile says that you're a suspicious person who don't trust anyone, and you're nosy, and you're not respecting other people's privacy. You don't trust other people. You end up on suspicion path most likely. Now you have laid your bed. Now it's time to see what happens when you have turned our protagonist Harrison into someone who is suspicious about other people. And you will be in that bed that you laid for yourself for the rest of the journey, which won't be something like 10% or a couple of hours. We're talking about tens of hours of gameplay, seeing how that changes everything. Now, let me put a little bit this into more constructive layout. How we did this in systematic level was what we called the outline structure. So I mentioned earlier that you've been put on a show, and the show time is half a year, so 6 months, 178 days. Now we took all the game works so that you actually go day by day with 3 time slots per day, what we call morning, afternoon, and evening. As you can see here, day 32 morning until day 32 evening, and then day 33 morning, and so forth. So in order, you have from day 1 to day 178, you have 3 slots per each, meaning that there are over 500 time slots during the game. Now, as you move forward during the game, the time will move without your complete control over it. And let's take an example of the day 32. On day 32 morning, you are given the opportunity to freely decide what to spend your morning with. You go around the hotel that you are on the island, and you can see that you have these three options for that morning. You can go to Giovanni on the top, and he tells you that he wants to talk about men's stuff. And if you decide to talk about men's stuff, you spend your morning time slot on that, and the time moves forward. You get to have this dialogue, you get to learn more about the character. It might start off something, but in the end, it is a decision. Or you can decide to go and spend the time with the Estonian D-list internet celebrity, Eva, on the right. And Eva, as any Nordic character, would be very much interested in the sauna in the premises. So you would get there, you would have a event with Eva talking about the sauna, maybe testing it out. Time will move on, you have made your decision. Your third option would have been to talk with the Norwegian jeweler, Isaac. And clearly Isaac has something that he wants to talk to you about, and you're the only one who can help. If you decide to help Isaac, again, there is a plot that will move forward. Time will move forward. You will be entering to the day 32 afternoon, and decision has been made. Now, let's take an example that you go and talk to Giovanni. You spend your day 32 morning talking to Giovanni, which means that we marked him here, that you spent the time slot with him. But you also notice that there's this caused a time slot day 32 evening to get also a Giovanni inserted into that as well. And you see that nice smiley face. And what I wanted to indicate here is that in this hypothetical situation, you talking to Giovanni caused another event to happen later on as a continuation for you to talking with him in the morning. So some of these time slots, even when we have events that are crucial to the plot and that are not in the player's decision, those will also occupy pieces of this time slot system. It is a little bit similar to what you have seen, for example, in the Persona series, but in Persona you find this in a very much more limited scope. Here, this whole system kind of creates a very dynamic, very kind of like a data block oriented structure, instead of doing a, let's say, dumb branching tree where there is no information moving forward. There's just always another branch based on your decision. Here, the game tracks bunch of different data blocks depending on your decisions, and it will keep on populating the different time slots based on all the decisions that you're making. And because of that, your experience may differentiate a lot compared to someone that you see, for example, stream this game on Twitch or YouTube. Their game will look completely different than yours because they make different decisions. So the time slot is also already adapting to your decisions, not only changing the story later on for good. Now, we made our decision for the morning of day 32. That means that we next move to afternoon. Afternoon, again, gives us freedom to make decisions, and we can see that there are a couple of options here for us to choose. First, there's Dan and Mia, the fun-loving duo there. They want to talk about anime. I mean, who doesn't? The game takes place in 2017, and the characters are from Europe. So, of course, there are to be found some anime-loving goofballs among the cast. Now, that is one option. But then you can see with a little bit different kind of an arrow, which is, again, pointing out that things will change based on your decisions. The thing that you that you spent the morning talking to Giovanni about men's stuff has unlocked you an opportunity to talk with Franziska about Giovanni. Franziska and Giovanni early on in the game don't really get along, because Giovanni does have a little bit old school mentality, and he doesn't really take Franziska seriously, because Franziska is a car mechanic by trade, and Giovanni really don't believe in women fixing cars. So you talk with Giovanni in the morning, and that will react in the afternoon with having the opportunity for you to talk with Franziska, where she pitches about Giovanni and how they don't get along. Now, if you would have selected, for example, Eva on the morning, you would not have this opportunity to talk with Franziska. And vice versa, if you talked with Eva, you probably would get something, some other conversation unlocking from there. So this kind of like is the system that continues to go through 178 days, but it also then completely changes what it populates once the game decides to put you on one of the multiple stories. Let me quickly get some water. So with this, even during your player engagement period, while you're still making the decisions for the game to decide what kind of story you should be told, the game will already start to change. It will already start to kind of challenge to make sure that it is getting the right kind of profile for you. It's giving you a event that you engage with, and then it's testing it out again and again. And while you're making decisions, you don't always even know that you're making decisions. It's not only about who you talk to. It is exactly how you spend your time. It's also about how you think of timelines. There's many things that will be picked up by the game and deriving decision making from that. Even things that you think that the game don't notice. So all in all, this game will work as kind of a non-professional psychologist, we could say, as something that is taking your decisions into account, and then based on that, changing the story and also altering the story in early on. Now, everyone always likes numbers, right? So what did this project end up being in terms of numbers? Like I said, there are 4 different paths, and each path being 70% of one playthrough in a story. We have over 11 hours of voice acting in the game, and we try to get voice actors from the respective nationalities that their characters are from, because we do have 11 different characters from different countries across Europe. Unfortunately, Slovakia didn't make the cut, but I'll keep Slovakia in mind if we get to do a sequel. I actually been to Slovakia 3 times, and it's a lovely country. So we had like bunch of voice acting, 11 hours in total, but we are not fully voice acted. So the game is not fully voice acted because in total we have 90 hours of dialogue. So combined all the 4 paths and all the options that you have, we have approximately 90 hours of unique story. That is taken into account that on the third to like second to fourth playthrough, you're skipping the stuff that you're seeing. So if you don't skip, it's actually more than 40 hours. If you don't skip what you already seen, but if you keep on skipping what you already seen, we are talking about 40 hours of unique story. What that does mean then, if we start to split it up a little bit more, That means 414,014 words in total. That is getting quite close, I think, to the first two books of Lord of the Rings. So there's a quite a few words in this game. And what that means in letters, that means 1,694,300 and plus characters of text. Actually, that number is only the dialogue. So on top of that, you have your mobile phone with messages, you have mini games, puzzles, all those stuff. Everything on top of that is in there. So it's gonna be over 1.7 million characters of text. And in total, the development time of this game was 14 months. So it did not take many years to develop. It took over a little bit over a year with a dedicated team of, at best, I think we had 13 people. And then, of course, we had like 11 voice actors on the side, as well as some guest stars, like for example Shinji Hosoe from Japan, who has who made some music for the game, who has also worked on the Zero Escape series and games such as Tekken and Street Fighter. He has been making music since '87, so he's been in the industry pretty much as long as I have been alive. So not a massive budget-wise, not a massive in time-wise, but we were able to accumulate quite a interesting story. And I really hope that everyone who gets the game next month are gonna feel the same, or after next month. All right. With that, I thank you for the presentation part, and I'm happy to answer questions and comments regarding to this.
So Yoni, thank you very much for presentation. Very interesting, I would say. And when you notice that some characters of your game like would like to talk with a player, like with me as a player about anime, I was like, okay, that's wish list for 100%. Thank you again. Let's see. Do we have any questions from our chats? Yeah, we got one. So Jakob is asking, are there any unique features or mechanics in Inescapable that set it apart from other narrative games in the genre?
Of course, like I think like biggest feature for us is the game is changing itself based on your decisions. It is not, like I said, it is not trying to just branch you with all these decision boxes that is very typical for the narrative game, that you get to choice of will you save A or B, and then it's clear that that's the next thing that happened. In our game, I would say the one of the kind of like carrying features is that when you have a decision, let's say, will you agree with A or B? You will see how that affects in the short term, but then it will also build up long term. And this will constantly happen with different decisions and things that you don't even recognize as decisions. And they will kind of like build up a case for the game to profile you, and then take that into trying to select one of the stories that we have that is the best suited for you. Beside that, on like game mechanic level, many of the puzzles and investigations and kind of like these kind of things are our own takes on quite typical for the genre, but it's just like how we would do them. But of course, we always also have a arcade machine in the game, because we are known for, originally we were known for arcade games like Stardust Galaxy Warriors, which was like this Saturday morning shmup, best enjoyed with three friends. So we do have arcade games in there as well, and we do have a fishing mini game that is an official pedia that you can fill.
That's interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to also ask you this question about mini games and puzzles, how difficult to create it, but you already answered that question. I got like one personal question, very interesting to know your opinion about that. So, game like this, a game like you making is really like story oriented, right? That we following the plot, we communicating with the characters, read a lot, trying to imagine all that in our head. And some video games, they providing you some opportunity of like free choice. Some of games, the majority of them, I would say, they give you like illusion of free choice when you like reading the text, and then you got some like opportunities or some options you could choose, and all of them leading to the same result. So, what do you think about that? Of that imitation or illusion of free choice, should we provide that to a player, or it's better just follow the road and give them opportunity to make a choice only when it really matters? So what style you use like in your game?
I'm a strong believer in the school of thought with this one that think about how your player is gonna feel. If you're gonna give an illusion of choice that will feed them for a couple of hours and then lead into a disappointment when they realize that the decision did not have any value, you're not exactly building up to a stellar feeling. I use always the example what they decided to do with the first Walking Dead game. Great game, but there's one decision that annoys me greatly about that game, which is where you decide out of the two survivors which one you're gonna save, for the other that you don't save to die immediately, and then the other one die exactly the same way, dependent, not depending on which one you save, but that they will die the exact same way later on. So that one was a very dissatisfying for me. I remember back in the day, I restarted the game, I played it again and again and again. I tried to avoid it. And then I realized that it is unavoidable. No matter which one I take, the other one will die in the same manner every time. And personally, I think that's a deflating for the player, and that's why I usually don't suggest to that. But in the end, of course, the game's design kind of like sets out in the end what is the best fit for the game. And I'm not saying that that kind of a like illusion of choice is not fit for some games. It definitely is. But if your game is at least trying to be a game where you tell the player that your choices matter, don't take those basically don't make those choices not matter later on.
Yeah, thank you. That really makes sense, especially with the example when I got this Vietnam flashbacks, as we say, right? About this situation when you like try to make a real choice, and then in the end, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's definitely frustrating. Okay, another question that I have for you is about replayability of the game. So, as far as I understand, we got like four main roads, yes, that we could like play through. But I'm very curious to know if it's possible to answer what like percent of the game can a like player can open through the one walkthrough, and would it be interesting for the player to beat your game for the second time, and maybe for the third and fourth time?
Yeah. The first time that you will play the game, you will play most likely as yourself. You make the decisions based on your own personalities, preferences, and choices. Then you will get the story that, well, out of the four will fit you the best. It's kind of a game itself then to play the game again and try not to be yourself, so that you're getting to see how the world around you will react if you weren't like you are, but if you were trying to be someone else, and see how the situation changes based on you trying to be something that you're not. And it creates, at least for the second playthrough already, it creates you the situation where you see some of the same things that happened previously, but you decide differently, and you start to immediately see change. you immediately start to see that the characters are not acting the same way as they were acting before. And then, especially when the game decides to put you on a different path, you see 0% of the same content anymore. So the paths have completely unique content on them. So meaning by the time that you get onto another path, nothing that happened in your last playthrough will no longer happen because the situation is completely different. All of the kind of like the duplicate experiences that you get are on the early parts of the game, and if you start to react to them differently, already those will start to alter as well. So I would say at least for two gameplay playthroughs, you get very different kind of experiences. For your third, I would say that still applies, but a little bit less because you already seen you kind of seen already the two sides of the coin, which is your side and the other side. Now you need to do the other side on a different way, so it's not as much fun as the second time, maybe. And then the fourth one is most likely the biggest puzzle of it all. I told that there's 4 parts, but one of the parts will need you to figure out how to get there, and the 3 other parts will be your hints and guides on how to get to the 4th path.
That's very interesting. Thank you. One more question for you as a game developer, especially with that game, which is like really like, let's say, text oriented. Yes, something that wants you to be always like a focus to be in the game. Have you used any like AI tools during the development, like something maybe like character AI or something else, to save your time, to improve maybe your work with text or something wherever something related with your game? And if you don't, do you think about using AI tools like in future? And what is your opinion in general?
For Inescapable, I don't know any tools to be used, at least for everything that I've been talking with our development team. No one used AI during the development for anything. Now, I'm not completely opposite to AI. It has its own benefits. But for example, everything regarding to art, everything regarding to writing was done was done by developers. We had a team of 3 writers plus creative director on full-time working on it. So all of the events, that there are over 1,200 events in the game that you saw here previously. So these things, there are over 1,200 of these in the game, and all of that was written from the scratch with with the writers. Now, moving forward, how would I bring AI around this? It would be possible to create a let's say AI feedback model that would help the writer to kind of like give questions or comments on their like rough drafts, or even when they start to outline an event or a sequence of events, they tell this is what I'm looking for, and ask the AI to basically ask questions or provide comments on it in order to kind of like speed up the thought process. I don't for the AI, if you use it to write your base material, you're just gonna get combination of all the ideas that have been done before. So it's kind of, I think that's a wrong approach. AI should be best used for helping you, having someone ask you questions. Use the AI to ask you questions that otherwise you would have asked someone with experience, because AI technically can be a collection of other people's experiences. So use AI to ask questions from you so that you can then take those into account.
Yeah, thank you. That makes sense. Let me double check if you have any extra questions from our chat. I don't see anything. So I think be done with you, and I would like to tell you thank you very much. It was very interesting to know about the game that you're doing. I'm really feel satisfied that we still have, this. Maybe it's not good to say like old-fashioned games, but some games that require, from the player ability to be in, not just like something we call press six to win. You definitely understand what I mean. That's very, very interesting, and I strongly recommend to go to Steam to download the demo of the game. And if you like it, guys, you definitely need to wishlist the game. 19th of October, the release date, right?
Yep,
Super.
19th of October.
So thank you very much, Joni, again for your presentation. It was very interesting, and have a great day.
Yes, thank you. And everyone have a great games gathering, Bratislava.
Yes, bye-bye.